Sportico ambiance be? I mean, give me an artist, give me a vibe, or Jacob. Oh, by the way, Jacob Feldman is joining us. Hello, Jacob.
Hello.
But
Hello.
both of you address, what would be, are we Culture Club? Are we Miami Sound Machine? Are we techno? What are we?
I'm thinking something mellow in the background. I don't know, Jacob.
Mellow in the background.
I am. This is how I know I'm getting old. But I go to bars that are loud that I used to go to and love, and now I'm like, I can't hear the person next to me.
By the way, Jacob, this is how he knows he's getting old. The guy can't walk; his hip is destroyed. This is how he knows he's getting old.
That's not fair. Yeah, I think it would be mellow lounge music. That's what I'm picturing.
Give me an artist. Give me a Sade, if you will.
Oh, Sade would be nice. Yeah, maybe.
Little Kygo. Yes, some calmer Kygo. I'm over here. You've distracted me. Wondering if is it too late, Evan, for us to go back and rename this whole project Sportico Bathroom? So I think that's got a ring to it. There's some exclusivity there. I think we could work with that.
Let's workshop that. Yeah. I like this idea.
We'd have to bring in the reading and the time limit and everything. But by the way, Evan, how impressed are you? I have not. Nice. I have not looked at my phone or anything. But you brought up Enya. What if I said we'll call it Orinoco Flow? Huh? How about that? You didn't think I'd know that.
Well,
you had no idea.
Evan's old. Scott still got it.
Yeah, exactly. What is Club Sportico? Let's answer that question.
Let's
Go, guys.
tell the people, Jacob, a project you and I have been working on for quite a while. A really fun addition to all the things that we're doing at Sportico. But Jacob, give the readers a sense of what Club Sportico is and what we'll be doing over the next year.
Sure, I'll start with the what. As you mentioned, Club Sportico primarily is going to be a newsletter that you're going to get once a week. It's going to be a little different than the newsletters we already put out. It's going to be a little more voicey, a little more opinionated, a lot like if you enjoy Eben on the podcast. I think the idea is to kind of take some of that energy. You just killed
our audience, Jacob. Yeah. If you like Eben on the podcast.
And if you hate Eben on the podcast, I'm going to be doing it sometimes too. So it's not all Eben.
Club Sportico, admitting 6.
Yeah, there you go. But yeah, clubsportico.com, I think, clubsportico.substack.com. You can sign up for free. There'll be a paid version with some extra features, and we're gonna experiment. This is gonna be a place for us to play, both in terms of voice, but also in terms of what we offer. So we will have to hear kind of what you're interested in. We've got ideas for trivia. We've got ideas for potential chat opportunities to really kind of dive deep into some stuff as it happens. And we're excited to grow this with the audience alongside in the club, if you will.
In the club, exactly. So as Jacob said, weekly news quiz. We're going to have chat rooms. There's going to be comment functions. Maybe Scott and I, with Jacob maybe joining, are going to do some members only audio. So there may be some Sporticast episodes.
Oh, I wasn't aware of this. Excellent. Okay. Good, more to do. Answering
readers' questions. If there's specific things that you want to get us to weigh in on, topics we're talking about, or honestly topics that we're not talking about, that maybe we might have some insight in, there'll be an avenue for that. As Jacob said, every Thursday afternoon, 2:00 Eastern, the Club Sportico weekly email will drop. We'll put all this information in show notes, and also it'll be heavy on all of our social media in the next week or so, with the first formal Club Sportico dropping this Thursday at 2 p.m. So if you enjoy the podcast, if you enjoy sports business, if you have friends, family, colleagues who are looking for a casual entry point into the billions of dollars that are swirling around in the sports world, this is going to be hopefully a fun and enjoying and additive opportunity to learn more in your inbox every Thursday.
I'll tell you why I love this. Let me tell you why I love this. Because we on a daily basis go hardcore. Like we will write finance, we will write M&A, we heavy on private equity and venture and what's going on in sports and ownership. We have a very hard target audience as well as prism as to what we cover. However, in chatting with a friend of mine who used to be at ESPN for a very long time, had a coffee recently, and he said to me, every single headline on ESPN.com is a sports business story. You just got to figure out what is the graph, the angle, the look. What's that fan aspect that would make it appealing? That, to me, is sort of what Club Sportico is all about. Like you might think, well, I'm a fan. I do my fantasy, but I'm not interested in how interest rates will affect lending. That I get that. Yeah. However, you are interested in the down funnel. Does this mean my team won They're going to move. They're going to get a new stadium. They can't spend. The owner can't spend as much because the core business isn't doing well. It does trickle down eventually to the on-field product and to what's going on, the things you do care about. That to me is what Club Sportico is all about. You could be a casual sports fan, you can be a hardcore sports fan, but everything we talk about, whether it's like Shohei Ohtani today did a deal with Topps. Did you see the line for the bobblehead for the Ohtani?
I saw it, yeah.
Right. I was there for the Costanza bobblehead. It's insane. I won't even open it. It's on my desk. Let me see what eBay's going for it now. But this is what we're talking about. There's a very consumer-centric piece of sports business that we do not do on a daily basis in the core Sportico coverage that we think we can even though it is very, I would say, broad-based audience, we still bring our insights, our connections, our know-how, all of it to that coverage, which makes it better than anybody else.
There's going to be, and particularly via Jacob, some interesting social media coverage here as well. There's a lot of very funny, interesting, insightful stuff that happens on social media in our world that we don't get to talk about nearly enough on Sportico.com or even on the Sporticast. One of the things you put in a recent Club Sportico in the beta version, Jacob, which I had totally missed, was how popular Uno is among Olympians. Sydney McLaughlin.
It was everywhere.
She carries the game with her when she goes to competition. It's little things like that you see that are partially business, partially fun and interesting. What's happening in sports that we are noticing doesn't really fit into, as Scott said, the standard Sportico story and format in which we do on Sportico Heavy, Sportico.com, but does have a lighter. There's a lighter place to do that, and Club Sportico is going to be all those things.
And what about some live events? I'm going to pretend, let me play the role of moderator when I know the answer to a question that I ask, and I have to pretend that I don't know the answer. I don't have any specifics, but I do think one of the biggest and most important parts of sport is community, right? It's getting together. We like to watch the games together. We like to cheer together, triumph and tragedy together. So it only makes sense that networking and getting these people like-minded people together in the same room would be part of what the club is all about behind the velvet rope.
Definitely looking to do some live events in the future. There may be possibly one happening at the end of September. Certainly when
I love the maybe, possibly definitive nature of it all.
Jacob or I are on the road at some point. We'll definitely let Club Sportico know that, hey, we're in town for the Super Bowl or we're in town for NBA All-Star. If folks are around, we'll be at this bar. Come hang out. Community is a big part of why we are doing this. We want to hear from listeners. We want to hear from readers. We want to get comments, questions, concerns, all of those things. It's one area that Sportico has not done particularly well. Jacob is talking about a book club, perhaps. So if anyone out there would like to be part of Jacob Feldman's book club, I'm raising my own hand here for those who are watching on video.
Jacob, $100 if you could get Oprah to partake. I want you to get
Oprah to partake
in the club's. Well, I have so much confidence in you that you can get anything done that I feel like it really isn't that hard a challenge. I'm not sure what sport-related book Oprah would find attractive, but go for it. Let's see if we can find it.
I'm sure she's got thoughts on the Bears Stadium in Chicago.
Well, well done.
Cards, perhaps, yeah.
She may have eyes on ownership of the Bears.
Very true.
Another thing we have been talking about is potentially doing some sort of fantasy pools. So maybe for the NFL playoffs or for the college football playoffs. Our good friends over at Robin Sports, I think, are going to be helping us with that. So again, all these little community features, if any or some of this is interesting to you, we would love it if you would join us. It's Club Sportico. It's hosted on the Substack platform. As Jacob said, it's clubsportico.substack.com. There is a free version. There is the full paid version with all of these features is $5 a month. And we would love to have as many people as possible joining us as we try to get this sports community off the ground.
I have an idea.
Please.
And you just
is it better than CDs, Scott?
No. But I have an idea. No. We were talking to
He's
Mark
honest.
Gannis yesterday,
He's
Jacob,
honest.
for today's podcast. And we were talking about how CD Lamb just got paid. He should definitely have an endorsement with a bank talking about how he's putting his signing bonus in a CD. Right? Guaranteed 5% these days.
There you go.
Let's get a little personal financial management in there.
That's good.
But here's my idea. It can be short-term as well as year-round that we we collect members by their alma mater. So you can have, let's just do this threesome here. We have a Syracuse, Harvard, and Princeton group. Man, I feel stupid. Guess which one I am. And we do, let's say, like an NCAA tournament guessing pool. But only you can one submission from the Princeton group, one submission from the Harvard group, and you can do it for a bunch of events. And at the end of the year, who is the best at all of this? Which school? Which group from what school?
I like that. I think that,
Thank you.
If it's basketball or football, I have a sense of who is who of the three of us is going to come out ahead on that one. But I like it a lot.
Wait, who's gonna basketball or football? What do you mean? Give me your answer. What do you mean? Not gonna be me.
I mean, if it's Syracuse, Harvard, and Princeton, I've got a good sense of in the big time sports who's outperforming who.
Who? Certainly
You.
isn't Syracuse. Why? Why are we outperforming? We're terrible.
Oh my God! If Syracuse football played Princeton or Harvard,
Well,
at
I
any
get it, but
regularity-
I guess the record for Princeton football will be better than the record for Syracuse football. I think. I don't know if they're good anymore. Right.
Head to head.
In that vaunted ACC where everybody wants to seemingly get out, but that's a good discussion for Club Sportico. What's gonna go on in the ACC? What's gonna be our players transferring? What are we looking at?
How
Who's
long
leaving?
does the ACC last?
Yeah, how long is the ACC even in
maybe
existence?
the discussion to have there.
Yikes.
Well, I remember when they left. I mean, I just remember the discussion we had with our friends. I remember when the Big East tournament fell. That when the Big East fell apart. The Big East tournament, the basketball tournament, was for me, even to this day, of everything I've been to, I don't think I have a better time than anything than the Big East tournament. But back in the day, when it was St. John's and Georgetown and Syracuse and Providence, you sat there the entire day and you had great matchups and you enjoyed. Now, no offense, I love Val Ackerman, but it's just not the same to me. It is not. Basketball may be great quality. I got it, but man, when you went to a Big East tournament final and you had the Hoyas going against the Orange Men, oh man, that was a big time event. That was great.
So we're off on a tangent here, Scott. But
That's okay. I always do
if the ACC were to fall apart,
Yes.
which seems very possible.
Where
at
do
some
I want
point in
Syracuse
the
to
next
go?
10 years? Yeah. Would you rather Syracuse try Big Ten? Would you rather them go
American?
back to Big East and be again basketball centered school? What is your as a non-fan of the Syracuse Orange?
Yeah.
What are you? What are you?
Diehard non-fan.
Well, see,
Diehard
this is the
non-fan, yeah.
again, this is great because this is what we're talking about sort of just your group of sports fans needing to understand why are we doing this? What's happening? Who's leaving? You don't have to really delve into it. You don't have to look at private equity looking to invest in these schools and what's happening and why they're splitting. That's fine. We can just say, what the heck is going to happen to my team? And
Why is UConn looking at the Big 12 again, despite all the success
Yes.
on the basketball court? Yep.
Yes, I saw somebody we know put in there. Well, they want the New York market. Sorry, but Stores is not the New York market, by the way. If you look at the DMAs, Stores is not the New York market. But I get it. That's why Rutgers was. That's why the Big Ten. The
15 years ago, it mattered a lot.
It mattered a lot, right? And meanwhile, Rutgers was at the time the most subsidized, may still be, athletic department in the country. These are all fun. They were literally taking professors' phones away. But there goes the football. Let's give money to the football team. I remember a time when Syracuse football meant something. They were playing in real New Year's Day. I mean, remember that quaint thing, New Year's Day bowl games. We're talking about Donovan McNabb and Marvin Harrison and Rob Conrad and Michael Owens and Marcus Paul, Kadri Ismail. I mean, these were some fearsome teams, man. This was football at its highest level. They would play the best of the best and maybe win one. And then when that goes away, it's incredibly disappointing when they have to play whatever the high ranked team now is, and I don't watch it at all anymore. But you see when the scores go by, or sometimes you do because sometimes they just thankfully this is the good thing that your team may stink, but because they're playing good teams like the top 25 scroll, you get to see how your team did, and then you see 57-6. And you're like, oh, okay, that ain't so good. And even the basketball team has fallen off, but why? I'd love to have that discussion with a bunch of sports fans who have a casual interest in the business of it all and saying, gee, what does that mean for Syracuse? Do they fill the dome? Why did they ever change the Carrier Dome? Why is that JMA now? That should still be I still call it the Carrier Dome. That's the kind of stuff. Those are the conversations I love to have.
It's an interesting parallel here because both Harvard and Princeton, longer time horizon, but there was also a time when they were the dominant, really
Sure.
great
Keith
traditional
Elias, baby.
college football power. I think Princeton has more college football national championships than anyone in the country, any school, albeit 20, 30
Mostly
of
in
them
the
happened
1890s,
before,
yeah.
1945 probably.
Much less
But,
glory for
yeah,
the lightweight football team, the sprint football team, if you will.
Eventually the gap gets long enough that you give up the ghost, right? A lot of those schools like Princeton and Harvard have given up trying to be college football powerhouses. And Scott, obviously Syracuse is nowhere near as far removed from that and is still in a nice position from a conference standpoint. Not a great position, but a nice one. But yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see kind of as all these things change, what sticks as permanent status and what teams are able to dramatically reshift them in the coming years.
Yeah, I
Great
don't see
conversation.
the.
Also, Jacob, Evan and I talked about sort of John Wildak going to be the athletic director at Syracuse, however many years ago that was. But there was a moment in time, remember, when media meant everything.
Right.
Like it was
TV,
like the media
yeah.
money meant everything. So you
TV
had
money.
to get a media, exactly. You had to get a media executive, and that was the person that was going to bring the gold to the athletic departments. Not so much. Right? All of a sudden now you need an outsider. Maybe you need an investment banker to be athletic director these days. That may be the better way to
Need a
go.
CEO,
So
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but these are great
TikTok
conversations
executive.
that,
Yeah.
that sports fans want, right? Right. This is just conversations got nothing to do with really understanding the key points of what Chairman Powell is talking about with interest rates. This is about how's my football team going to do and who's going to lead the program.
Well, I think we're going to see a lot of pro sports executives make their way to college programs as college programs become more professionalized. That's my bet.
Well, you
Brett
mean
Yormark
pro
being
A to pro
shining
B.
example
Yeah.
there.
Exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Another
it's all
thing
pro. That's a point.
Another thing we're looking to do at Club Sportico is to talk more about our own personal reporting journeys and things we've done and trips we've been on. And Jacob, an easy transition there. You spent
Yes.
some
Well done.
time in Bristol with a number of people, executives, TV personalities in and around the ESPN ecosystem. Give us a Club Sportico style takeaway. What was the experience like, and what were your big takeaways from spending a day learning everything about what ESPN thinks about its position and its future?
Yeah, it's a fascinating event. ESPN is such a big company, right? I mean, they have all of these league partnerships. They have all of these studio shows, all of this talent, all of these digital and social experts. And so it's fascinating to see them try to condense all that down into, I mean, it's still a full day. I think it was 7 hours of straight programming. They had people talking through lunch. So they tried to squeeze in as much as they could. But it's interesting to see who they put first and foremost. So obviously Jimmy Pitaro, the chairman of ESPN, the leader there, opens the day, sits for an hour or so, and talks a lot about this product that's going to launch next year. Doesn't have a name. They call it ESPN Flagship. I don't love that name. I like to think of it as ESPN All-in-One. I'm guessing ESPN All-In, something like that would be what I would name it. But it's this idea that you're going to spend one price, probably $30-something a month, and get everything ESPN offers, all the ESPN linear networks, all the ESPN digital offerings, and that's going to be for people who obviously don't subscribe to cable but want ESPN and don't want to spend $10 more for venue, and we can get into all the various configurations there. But he is stressing not only is it going to change the way we spend money to watch sports, it's not going to change where we watch sports. He wants it to change how we watch sports. So they're talking about adding new features, the ability to track your fantasy team overlaid on the game you're watching, the ability to track your bets in ESPN Bet overlaid in what you're watching, the ability to watch multiple things at once, the ability to have potentially a personalized version of SportsCenter. We saw NBC experiment with something like that using AI and Al Michaels during the Olympics. What could a SportsCenter look like where, like we were talking about earlier, it's just Syracuse highlights and some Princeton highlights and maybe some youth hockey highlights mixed in there because it knows Scott
There
likes
we
that.
go.
Yeah,
There we
exactly.
go.
Now you're signing up for $30
Now
a
we're
month,
talking.
right? Yeah,
After $30
yeah.
a month. You don't know me.
Connecticut
I don't even
Junior
sign up.
Rangers.
I am the one hockey father that does not sign up for what's called Live Barn. When you can't make it, there's the cameras in the rinks.
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
I think these people are nuts. I'm like, you can't see. It's slow to track. I mean, no offense. I'm sure the technology get better, but
Right,
like,
right,
if I can't be in the rink, I don't need to watch the game.
Oh.
You have the pipeline here where somebody on the team is tasked with updating all the people that are at home. With every goal. It's insanity to me. I'm like, when the game's over.
Yeah.
Did we win? How did he play? That's all I
There you
wanted.
go.
Like, those are the two
The
questions. I
highlight
don't need-
on your personalized
Yeah.
sports center the next morning. There it is. It'll
Yep,
be there.
Yeah. Did they win? How did he play? That's it. Move on. Sorry.
So that was the morning, and then I'll skip to the last session of the day, because I think that is where ESPN is headed. They're thinking a lot about the way we experience sports, the digital experience. Where ESPN is now, I think was encapsulated by the last session of the day, which was a packed panel of ESPN stars, personalities: Stephen A. Smith, Scott Van Pelt, Elle Duncan, Mike Greenberg, and Pat McAfee, obviously last but very much not least.
A lot of
Hold
personality.
on.
that
Let me
stage.
jump in though. Let me jump in.
Please.
This is Sportico proper, not Club Sportico. But when you
Yes.
say Elle Duncan, I do have to say who is emceeing our women's sports event October
Fantastic.
23rd in New York City. There it is. Bring it back. A star-studded lineup for our
Yes.
women's sports event. Just confirmed Erin Kane, Caitlin Clark's agent, this morning. There we
Oh,
go.
amazing.
Even better.
Fantastic.
Yep.
A million things
I
to
mean,
ask
just
her.
just
Yeah.
totally packed. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. No, fantastic. I appreciate that. Yeah, and women's sports came up a lot, obviously, yesterday as well, or last week as well. But it's fascinating to see. I mean, ESPN now is a personality first network. When I went to this event before COVID, it's probably 5-6 years ago now, all the conversation was on the league relationships. You know, we have this many NFL games and we have this many college football games, and our NBA relationship is top notch. Now it's look at Pat McAfee and Stephen A. Smith. These are the people dominating sports media, and we have them here. And Burke Magnus, the head of content at ESPN, talked a lot about reorienting the way ESPN operates to facilitate and maximize these kinds of personalities. We see a lot of interaction over the course of yesterday. Nick Saban talking to Pat McAfee, talking about Stephen A. Smith with Scott Van Pelt watching on. That's how ESPN is kind of reorienting itself, this idea of kind of a galaxy of stars, if you will, that fans connect to. And so I think that combination really jumped out to me. This idea on the tech side and the personality side is where ESPN is putting a lot of its focus.
Who got a chance to speak? My Lord, with all those people.
That was
I can
90
see
minutes, but everyone got a word in. Pat probably got the most. I was thinking about going back through the transcript and counting the minutes spoken. Both Stephen and Pat got their pieces in for sure.
Do that. That would,
Yeah, that'd be a great
Club
story.
Sportico
Yeah,
for sure.
I mean, that's a Club Sportico for sure. Who said the most words? Right. But what I read a little nugget that McAfee got a little testy when asked about like journalistic integrity or standards or something.
Standards, yeah,
But
yeah.
it was like our friend Alex Sherman, former colleague. Did he quiz him on sort of that? And he's like, "What are you talking about?" and all that. I mean, I don't know.
It did turn into a spelling bee for a second when Pat was like, "Can you use journalistic standards in a sentence?" He was, it got definitional, which was funny.
You use it in a
If I know, yes, the
Yes.
Pat
Do
McAfee
you
show does
have
not have
journalistic
journalistic
standards?
standards.
That's my
There you go. Yeah, I get it. I just again, I want to have sort of their basic discussion. I'm going Club Sporto again. The price of programming is really going up, but ESPN still
point.
is the default setting of where I need to go to watch games. Without live
Yes.
games, is ESPN. Can you build the ESPN aura just on these personalities? It's like, I don't know. And then you have the second thing where there's an immunity aspect of it all, where if you don't ratchet it up, then how do you get attention the week after the week
Yes.
after? You have to get crazier. You have to get a little more controversial. You have to say something insane to get
You
attention.
have to have Aaron Rodgers on.
You have to have Aaron Rodgers
pay
on
to
and
get
let
Aaron
him talk
Rodgers.
about going into the
You have to pay to
cave.
get it,
Is that model sustainable over the long haul? That's what I want. And by the way, under a Disney umbrella, you remember this is still Disney. There is a certain comportment that you must have with Disney.
It's a great question. To me, it was fascinating. I mean, they talked a lot about ratings. Obviously, this is a business event, a media event. They are so focused on the minute-to-minute ratings, the views on social. It dictates the programming. Mike Greenberg was defending how much they talk about the Cowboys by saying that that's what people watch, and if people weren't watching his show, ESPN would find somebody else to put on and talk about those things. And so,
Well, let me tell you, like Jacob,
that's
hold
the
on, let me
pressure.
just interject
Yeah.
again. And I get it. And we got a little glimpse into that world when we had Stephen A. Smith at South by Southwest. I did an hour sit down with Stephen, and his contract is coming up, so he's
yes,
he's in talks.
that came up too, sure.
Okay, well, sure. But Stephen, unlike the previous mode where he was just like, I deserve. Stephen said, no. In the Stephen A. way, which I love, the staccato
Amazing
delivery.
Yeah.
It
He's
was
the same,
great.
no matter the
Yeah.
audience. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, and again, I've known Stephen for a very long time. We're talking Philly Inquirer back in
Yeah,
the day.
sure.
But Steven understands the things we want
Yes.
to talk about at Club Sportico. Like, well, how do they determine what Stephen A. Smith is worth? And he's like, I'm speaking their language now, which means 15-minute ratings blocks.
Yes.
If there's the same subject on another show, they've got 200,000 viewers. I've got
Yes.
700,000 viewers. How is
Yes.
ESPN monetizing those eyeballs? So what's the difference for Stephen A. Smith? What's the value I bring to the show? And he's going to give you a tangible, data-driven, feels like Scott Boras. Here's my reams of data
Right,
to
right.
show you how valuable I am. So when I go out there and I command $20 million a year, to be the highest paid person,
Probably
it's not
more,
it's not an egocentric, I need to be the highest paid. It's this is what I'm worth
This is
because
what I bring.
you
Yep.
monetize on top of me. That is a fascinating discussion that I do not think people understand.
Yeah, yeah. I think it was either Jimmy or Burke who said that they've never heard Stephen A. say no when they ask him for something. He's doing everything he can. We see him more and more across their programming, and he's
Exhausting.
building, like you're saying, yeah, for everybody but him. But yeah, he was classic Stephen A. up there, and yeah, it's fascinating to get us insight into their thinking.
Taking a step back for a second, Jacob, it felt like about a year ago that the hot seat was hot under ESPN. That they were kind of slow to figure out the digital strategy.
Yeah, it's a hot
this
decade, I would say. Yeah.
Two-pronged, really lucrative business model of collecting ads and also collecting sub fees under
Yeah.
pressure because people are going away from cable. Now, how would you gauge how hot is the seat? Is it cooling off? Is it still red hot? Is ESPN looking like a safer harbor amid all this media change? How would you describe in like the sliding scale of dead to dominant where you picture ESPN right now?
Yeah, it's fascinating. I came away from the day thinking that ESPN is dominant, but not all powerful. So 10 years ago, they were all powerful, but not dominant, right? They were, when you think about sports media, you thought about ESPN, right? We were criticizing what they were and weren't covering. There was a lot of conversation about their relationships with the leagues. I think they kind of came in with ESPN had this swagger about it. And it was fascinating last week. Jimmy Pitaro said his biggest pet peeve is people calling ESPN the worldwide leader. He doesn't want that anymore. He doesn't use it. He tells his subordinates not to use it because.
Wait, whoa. Did Jimmy say that yesterday?
Last week. Yeah.
Oh, last week? Oh, okay. I missed that. That's fast. Again, I did not see it. That's fascinating to me. Okay,
Yeah.
tell me why.
Yeah.
Go ahead. What did he say?
Yeah, because he says it doesn't fit with their attitude right now. They are trying to be more humble, more competitive. They look, they want to put themselves out there using, like going back to Stephen A. They want to, say, look, we are. They spent a long time talking about their dominance on social media. They have the largest TikTok brand in or outside of sports. They have, I think, over 100 million monthly engagements, a billion, whatever it was, they for 40 straight months, and only one other network has done that twice in the last 10 years, whatever. So they want to show the stats, but they don't want to be seen as this behemoth in the room, right? It's a really fascinating kind of balance. I'm still kind of sorting it out, but like you're saying, ESPN for a long time was the starting point for sports. ESPN was sports for 20 years of sports fans. It's not the case anymore. People open YouTube or Instagram. They're not going to ESPN, right? So ESPN has to bring in these personalities. They have to speak really loudly to be at the top of those feeds because they don't control the dynamic right now. But they want to be, going forward as they launch this app, they want to kind of regain control of that. But right now they don't. And the pressure is on.
I'm curious what the Club Sportico kind of demo would say about that because I go to my focus group of one again. The only thing he gets from ESPN, I think, are sort of like the alerts. So if he's got a couple of favorite teams, he points in like did somebody score a goal for the Blackhawks or something like that. Everything else is Snapchat and the like. He does not sit down and consume ESPN in any significant way.
The thing that the one area and media obviously is the moneymaker, but the one really big, I think, kind of cultural touchstone that ESPN has been able to keep is that nobody has been able to deliver scores in the way that they do. And that I think is immensely valuable.
What do you mean by
I know
that?
Apple has tried and Google has tried. Like if you ask most fans, hey, your favorite team is playing right now.
Yeah.
What's the score? Most people, I think, are still, and maybe I'm wrong about this, Jacob, I think most people are still going to ESPN in some capacity, either on website or an app.
But I'm interested that Eben, I'm interested like in what I just said about my son. you just said people are going to. Like,
Mm-hmm.
Jackson has it set up. It comes to him. If the New York Yankees
and
score
you
a
can do
run,
that
it
with
comes to
ESPN's
him.
app also,
Yeah.
and again, a lot of people have tried currently
Mm-hmm.
and in the past to unseat this. To my knowledge, at least in my focus groups of of people that I know, and you can just Google Eagles
Yeah,
Giants score and it will
You can
pop
Siri.
up. I just
I
don't
use
think many
Siri for
people-
that
Right.
now.
Yeah.
Exactly. This Scott makes a great point. I don't have the data in front of me. I'm guessing ESPN still has the most popular app, but it's by far not the only one. Yahoo's got a popular one. CBS has a popular one. The Athletic has a popular one. A lot of people go to Google. A lot of people just ask Siri.
You know
And-
people who go to the Athletic to get the score of a game?
yeah, sure.
Really
It's just as fast as ESPN. Yeah.
Well, I know
Uh,
it's just as fast. It's just a matter.
I
of
use
like,
the
is
score.
it adapted? You use the score.
A lot
Okay, so
of
maybe
people
I'm
use
way
Apple
off.
Sports. I've it was interesting. I wrote a couple months ago about complaints about the NHL app and spent a lot of time just talking to fans about what app they use, why they use the apps. And a lot of them wanted to use the NHL app because they find the ESPN app bloated, right? You open it, there's a lot of video. It's trying to push all sorts of different stuff. You just want the score. It's the same thing Apple is trying to solve. I think they hear the same thing internally and from their users that we just want a simple, fast way. It's the same thing Google wants to do. As we started to talk about AI and chatbots, you even take that away even further. I don't think in 5 years you're going to have to open an app to check a score that you'll touch your ear or you'll blink twice and your score will pop up, whatever it will be. And so that's again why we have to go back to these personalities. The information is not the moat like it was for ESPN 20 years ago.
Oh, all right, guys. Plug the Sportico Club Sportico again, and I'd keep going, but I like to keep our show as long as I can run on a treadmill. That doesn't work for Eben, but I'd be dying right about now.
Yeah, we'd be
so I
doing
know
a
most
6
people
hour
are.
show for Eben.
And, yeah, I mean, and we're released. This is going to be a straight Tuesday morning, right? Right,
Yeah.
Eben? Yeah,
This is
see, like
released
Monday,
Tuesday
if it was
morning.
Monday, I'd say we go longer because people are driving. I will be stuck in traffic coming home from Boston, hopefully with a championship trophy. I don't think so. Don't tell anybody I said that. But, we can go a little bit longer because of the traffic. But Tuesday, we got to keep it to a sort of a relatable time, and I think we are there now.
Well, summer is over, everybody. I hope everyone had a good
man,
Labor
downer.
Day. Thank you to Jacob Feldman.
Football
for
season is
joining
here.
us.
It's the glass half
Football
full.
Season is here, and so is Club Sportico season. You can
Glass
find
even
it.
emptier
All
for
of our
Scott.
socials
Yeah.
going to have it this week, but clubsportico.substack.com. Subscribe
See
and
you
join
there.
us. It'll be worth it for sure. He is Jacob Feldman. You can find him on Twitter at JacobFeldman4. Scott
Nice.
Soshnick, you can find on Twitter at Soshnick. You can find me on Twitter at Novi_Williams.
Still with the
show is
underscore,
produced by
Jacob. I
Aaron
can't-
Greenewald.
why does it just give
Thank
it up?
you very much to Aaron.
So many
Matt
things you can use. It
Palacio,
went
who is
underscore.
also
Underscore
helping
Club
on
Sportico.
Club Sportico.
Yeah, oh, never.
He would like you to know that
I
you
would
can
veto
follow
that.
the
I have
show
veto
at
power on that.
Sporticast, which is the hub of the Sportico Media Network.
All right, well done, fellas.